What is up, y'all? Ace Trainer X here, and today we're going to talk about the top 5 cards from Twilight Masquerade. So let's head on over to the newsroom. So Dragapult is an absolute beast of a card in Twilight Masquerade because it is spawning a ton of new decks, from Dragapult Xatu, from Dragapult Zard to Dragapult Pidgeot, and literally everything in between. Being a 320 HP dragon attacker with no weakness, 1 retreat cost that can swing in the active for 200 and put 6 damage counters on the bench is taking the game by storm. Not to mention that its stage 1 is essentially a juiced Kirlia, allowing Dragapult decks to have a built-in draw engine by being able to look at the top 2 cards and bottoming one of them. On top of that, Jirachi and Manaphy do absolutely nothing to stop this juggernaut, proving once again that Jirachi is literally worthless. I guess unless your local meta is completely swamped with Lost Mine Sableye players. I see a lot of people arguing online that Jirachi does stop Dragapult, but they are literally wrong. They are super wrong. You can read Stellar Veil, it says opponent's basic Pokemon. Does Dragapult look like a basic Pokemon to anyone? Read the card. Rabsca would be the card you are looking for that would stop Dragapult. However, most people aren't playing Rabsca. Rabsca takes up way too many card slots because if you're running a 2-2 line, that's 4 entire cards you need to stop Dragapult. That's way too many slots for a tech card. Dragapult is essentially forcing people to make a decision with their 60 HP Pokemon, either to just straight up let them die or to completely replace them with inferior versions. This means that people are now playing with the awful 70 HP Bidoof with no ability. Chin Pao has to play the worst 2 retreat cost Frigibax. Zard is being forced into one of the 70 HP Manders instead of the better Heat Tackle one. And Fringe Dango players can't call for family unless you want to get popped on the bench by Dragapult. This card is just absolutely juiced, and it is going to see a ton of play in the West. Imagine taking an early KO and your hand immediately ceases to exist. Being baited into early game KOs has never been sweeter. Decks that take early game leads are going to have to think twice about taking that KO before getting their bench redundancy set up. It can severely slow down a significant portion of decks in the format. Pokemon has made it very well known that they believe opponents taking prizes and getting card advantage from said prizes taking is bad, and they don't like it. So they keep offsetting it with cards like this. Although I guess you could say that entire philosophy is a debate within the community, but I don't care. Obviously, everyone and their mom was yearning for an item-based Marnie, right? A strictly better Marnie. Speaking of item-based, that means you can fetch this bad boy with Arven, Irida, and Pokestop, making it super easy to grab. Now with Twilight Masquerade, you can make it super easy to punish your friends and family. Although I personally believe that the game is better with this type of hand disruption and shuffle effects, it really keeps you on your feet. I for one can't wait to get unfair stamped. Ursaluna is being played as a late game attacker. If your opponent has taken 5 prize cards, that means this bad boy can smack for free for 240, which makes this a powerful late game tool for those really close matchups. Something I like is you can actually slap a DTE on this bad boy and go to town smacking for 220 after your opponent has taken 3 prize cards. In Japan, Ursaluna has become a one-of staple in Lugia EX and Lost Box decks. Argaps makes Ursaluna a threat nearly any part of the game, being able to accelerate special energy. A Lugia EX deck actually got 4th place using this strategy. The other obvious take here is Lost Box using Mirage Gate to accelerate energy for a late game smack. The downside of Ursaluna is its attack is essentially a Hyper Beam, so it can't attack during your next turn. You might be saying, wow, that really sucks, but for Lugia that plays a ton of jet energies, and for Lost Box that plays a lot of switch effects, it really doesn't matter. My little guy Tatsugiri is just the cutest little guy. Who would ever want to harm a Tatsugiri in the active slot? Just farming for supporters, that's all he's doing. This deck was actually played in the 1st place Miraidon EX deck in Sapporo, and for a good reason. It really helped that Miraidon EX deck dig into Arven to help get set up. Tatsugiri gives a lot of decks a very clean, solid, and consistent start. I feel like the play here is a lot of people are going to use Tatsugiri to try to dig into Arven, which will dig into Buddy Buddy Poffin, or like TM Evo, or a Forest Silsone. This is going to speed up a lot of decks and make them way more consistent. Especially because Tatsugiri himself is a great target for TM Evo, since he's probably going to get bonked anyway, just like Mysterious Telmew did. Tatsugiri was also played in some of the Dragapult EX decks, but I think it's because those decks have a lot of one-offs to grab, like TM Evo, Devo, Rescue Board, Forest Silstone, Earthen Vessel, stuff like that. I really just think you're grabbing crap. Jamming Tower is going to cause some decks to make some heavy decisions and or change up their list completely. There are so many good tools right now, and this card just shuts them off completely. The downside is it's a stadium, so we won't have a stadium fetch card until the next set, which is Colress's Obsession. Most notably, it is going to make Guardy and Turbo Hands really work for it. Guardy historically plays maybe one stadium, a collapsed stadium, and one lost vacuum, so that means Guardy absolutely has to deal with it. You can also just top deck a jamming tower and throw it down to get some free KOs on like Drifloom and Screamtail if they've already gone off. This isn't seeing a ton of play in Japan right now, but I think it's just because you really can't rely on jamming tower. It is inconsistent. This might change with the next set because we will be getting Colress's Obsession that grabs a stadium card, making things more consistent, but who knows. Okay, I know I said top 5, but Ironthorn's EX gets a special mention. It's essentially Path to the Peak for the active slot. There's an insane amount of cards right now that this stops, just like Path to the Peak did. Luminion, Dingo, Zard, Restart Mew, Rotom, Radzard, Chin Pao, Pidgeot, and probably way more. I don't see this card being played by anyone but future decks. It gives future decks a chance to set up. And it forces a ton of decks just to deal with Ironthorns. If it's in the active slot and you're playing against literally any of those cards or the decks I listed before, it's going to have to deal with it. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching the video in the top 5, I guess 6 cards from Twilight Masquerade. Y'all take care, and as always, I'll see you later.